Commissioner Gordon, Bane has escaped.
Master the art of self-reliance, and you master the world. To stand alone is not a choice, it is an inevitability for those who seek real power. Dependence is a chain, each link forged by the weakness of needing others. You cling to others like crutches, afraid to fall. But it is in falling that one learns to rise. The self is the only force that endures, the only foundation unshakable by betrayal, by failure, by loss. All others are temporary, fading shadows in the light of your own strength. To rely on anyone is to give them power over you, to kneel before another's whim. Self-reliance is not mere survival. It is the mastery of your own fate, the understanding that no one will come to save you. The world will watch you burn and offer no hand to pull you from the fire. But in that fire you will be forged into something unbreakable. Those who look to others for strength will always be at the mercy of someone else's weakness. But the one who relies only on the self, that is the one who never falters, the one who cannot be bent or swayed. Self-reliance is not a shield, it is a weapon, sharp and unyielding. There is power in the isolation of the self. When you cast off the need for others, you begin to see the world for what it is, a battlefield where only the strongest endure. The weak huddle together, clinging to false bonds of loyalty and friendship. But those bonds are nothing but shackles. To rely on others is to invite betrayal, to offer the knife that will one day be turned against you. Self-reliance removes that risk. For when you depend on no one can hurt you. Strength is not given, it is earned. And it is earned in solitude, in the hardening of the spirit when there is no one left to call upon. Self-reliance is the art of becoming your own master, your own savior, your own weapon. The world may crumble around you, but when you have mastered the art of self-reliance, it is you who will remain standing. There is no greater power than knowing that no matter what comes, no matter what is stripped away, you will not fall. Because you have built yourself up from nothing, and nothing can take that from you. Others are a crutch, a distraction, a weight that pulls you down into their weakness. To rely on the self is to become weightless, free to move with precision, with purpose, with absolute control. There is no hesitation in the one who trusts only their own strength, for hesitation is born of doubt, and doubt stems from reliance. When the self is all there is, you know exactly what you're capable of. You know exactly what you will become. There is no limit, no boundary, no tether to hold you back. Self-reliance is the foundation of absolute power. It is the understanding that no one else will ever fight for you, not truly. The battles that matter, the wars that define you, are fought alone. Others will offer their aid, but their strength is borrowed, and borrowed power is nothing more than a fleeting flame. To rely on yourself is to wield an inferno, a fire that cannot be extinguished by the failure of another. In the end, all that matters is the strength of the self, the will that refuses to break, the mind that does not bend. When you master self-reliance, you master fear. For fear is born from the unknown, from the risk of losing something you cannot control. But when you are all you rely on, there is no unknown. There is only the certainty of your own strength, the confidence that whatever comes, you will face it alone and emerge victorious. To walk this path is not easy, but it is the only path that leads to true power. The path of self-reliance is the path of the unbreakable, the untouchable, It is the path of those who will not be betrayed, who will not be abandoned, who will not fall. The world will bow not because it fears you, but because it cannot break you. In the silence of your own strength, you will find clarity, you will find power, and you will find freedom. No one can take that from you. No one can stand in your way, because the one who needs nothing is the one who cannot be defeated. To walk alone is not a weakness, it is the ultimate strength. And when the world falls away, when all else crumbles, you will stand above it, not as a mere man, but as something more, something unyielding, something unstoppable. The best bet is always to bet on yourself. Others gamble with borrowed strength, placing their fate in hands that are too weak to hold it. They seek safety in numbers, reassurance in alliances, but all they find are chains that bind them to uncertainty. To bet on anyone but yourself is to court failure, to stake your future on the frailty of those who fear the very darkness you thrive in. The world is filled with those who seek validation from others, who rely on the promises of the unproven. But the only promise that matters is the one made in the silence of the mind, the promise that your strength will never falter. Every risk taken on others is a gamble that drags you closer to ruin. Those who place their hopes in another's hands are blind to the dangers lurking in weakness. Betrayal comes not from malice alone. It comes from the failure of those who were never strong enough to carry the weight of your ambition. When the stakes are high, when everything you've built is on the line, there is only one bet that is guaranteed to pay, the bet on yourself. For in that bet there are no variables, no uncontrollable forces, no unreliable allies. There is only your will, sharpened by solitude and hardened by the battles fought within. Others may offer promises of loyalty, of strength, of support. But promises are brittle things, shattered by fear, by hesitation, by doubt. Only the self remains constant, the one force that is truly under your control. When you bet on yourself, you are staking everything on the one thing that you can trust, your own strength, your own resolve. There are no illusions, no lies, no whispered assurances to mislead you. There is only the cold, clear certainty that what you have within is enough. The world is fickle, and those who place their trust in others are nothing more than gamblers, hoping against the odds that someone else will catch them when they fall. But hope is the enemy of power, a crutch for those too weak to stand alone. Betting on yourself is not an act of hope. It is an act of defiance, of absolute certainty. You know what lies within, and you know what it is capable of. The risks of the world melt away when you place your faith in the one force that has never failed you, the self. In the end, all others will fall away. All alliances will fracture, all friendships will fade, all loyalties will bend beneath the weight of fear. But the one who bets on themselves stands alone, untouchable, unbroken by the failures of the weak. For every weakness in another is a crack that can drag you down, a flaw that can become your undoing. Betting on yourself means shedding these vulnerabilities, casting aside the fragility of those who cannot withstand the darkness. It means stepping into the abyss knowing that no matter how deep it goes, you will rise again, for your strength is forged from something far greater than mere hope. To bet on yourself is to bet on the inevitable. There is no need for luck, no reliance on the whims of fate. You are not a creature of chance, you are a force of will, a being who bends the world to fit your purpose. Others play the game, but you create the rules. And in a game of your own making, the only possible outcome is victory. The weak seek fortune in the hands of others, but the powerful know that the only fortune worth having is the one carved by your own hand. Those who place their bets on others will always be left waiting for someone to save them, waiting for someone to guide them. But those who bet on themselves have already moved beyond the need for rescue, beyond the need for assurance. The best bet is not just the safest, it is the most certain. Betting on yourself means knowing that whatever comes, you will face it alone, without hesitation, without fear. It means knowing that no matter how high the stakes, no matter how fierce the opposition, the outcome is already written in your favor. Power does not come from numbers nor from alliances. It comes from the one who knows their own strength, who places their fate in no hands but their own. To bet on yourself is not simply to refuse weakness. It is to embrace the power of self-reliance, to understand that the only force worth trusting is the one that resides within. Those who bet on themselves never lose because they are the ones who refuse to be bound by the limitations of others. And when the dust settles, when all others have fallen, it is the one who bet on themselves who stands victorious, untouched by the failures of the weak. Place your faith in no one but yourself. In the end, that is the only bet that matters. The world is a game of power, and those who gamble on others are playing with a losing hand. But those who bet on themselves are playing a different game altogether. A game where the only outcome is dominance, where the only possible end is victory. Bet on yourself and there is no defeat, no failure, no fall. There is only the path forward, carved by your will, and the certainty that whatever stands in your way, it will fall before you. Self-reliance is the crucible where intellectual independence is forged. To think for oneself is to tear free from the suffocating grasp of the herd, to abandon the shallow thoughts of the many, and delve into the depths of one's own mind. Each man must learn to cultivate this strength, to nurture the ability to think without the influence of others. Dependency on the thoughts of the crowd is a poison, a slow death of the intellect. The mind must be sharpened in solitude, trained to observe without bias, to analyze without fear, to dissect the world with a cold, unforgiving clarity. The masses seek comfort in collective thought, their opinions mere echoes of another's voice. But those who rely on themselves train their minds to reject this mindless mimicry, to question everything, to peel back the layers of illusion and reveal the dark core of reality. Intellectual independence is the weapon of those who stand alone, a force that cuts through the lies that bind weaker minds. To think for oneself is to wield the power of the unclouded mind, a mind not swayed by the shifting tides of popular opinion. Each man must be his own philosopher, his own teacher. To rely on the wisdom of others is to surrender your mind to their control, to become a prisoner to thoughts that are not your own. Intellectual independence is not given. It is taken, earned through relentless discipline, through the breaking of every mental chain imposed by society. The mind is a beast that must be tamed, trained to observe the world not through the lens of comfort, but through the harsh light of reality. There's no place for softness in the pursuit of understanding. Only the strongest minds, those trained in solitude, can rise above the illusions that blind the masses. Observation is not passive. It is an act of domination, of seizing control over what is seen and turning it into knowledge, into power. The weak observe without understanding, their thoughts clouded by the noise of the world. But the self-reliant man sees with a clarity that only solitude can provide. He trains his mind to cut through the distractions, to focus on the heart of the matter, to tear apart the superficial and reveal the structure beneath. The mind that is independent is a force of creation, a mind that molds reality to fit its own vision. Analysis is the blade of the self-reliant mind, a tool that carves through falsehood and reveals the raw, unfiltered essence of the world. To analyze is not merely to think, it is to deconstruct, to break down every assumption, every illusion, and strip it bare. The intellectually independent man trusts no thought that has not been scrutinized, no belief that has not been tested in the fires of his own analysis. He does not accept the world as it is given to him. He shapes it, molds it to his understanding, to his will. Dependence on others' ideas is a slow surrender of the soul. To adopt another's thoughts is to betray the power of the self. Only those who train their minds to think independently can escape this trap. The mind, like the body, must be disciplined, forged through relentless questioning and observation. Train the mind to observe with ruthless precision, to analyze without mercy. Habituate the soul to reject the comfort of easy answers, to delve into the darkness of complexity where real understanding lies. Those who rely on others for their thoughts are destined to remain prisoners of ignorance. But those who master the art of self-reliance, who train their minds to think for themselves, become something more. They become the creators of knowledge, the masters of thought, wielding the power of intellect like a sword that cuts through the illusions of the world.